All right. So we'll talk about basic router configuration. And here, this is nothing new. We're just going to introduce a few things here. And we are going to revisit the commands that we did learn about last time. And so you can see configure initial settings on a Cisco router. Same things we did configure. And then the only thing we are going to be an addition for us is we're going to configure active and activate interfaces of a router, and we are going to configure the default gateway in a switch. Those are the only two commands we're going to be adding. So, having talked about that, let's go back and revisit the initial router configurations here. And this is nothing that you guys don't know. This is nothing that is totally new here for you guys. So let me just load up a syntax checker for initial router settings here, so that we can be able to see how exactly that takes place. So we are going to look at the basic settings. Remember, we talked about them last time. If you still remember, enable, configure terminal, and you remember, all the other commands. So I'm gonna go through that again here, and I'm gonna see if we guys can be able to remember that. Okay, so let me just zoom this in so that correct. So yeah, so that we can be able to see it. All right. All right. So here we go. So you're told enter global configuration mode to configure the name of the router as R1. Enter the global configuration mode to configure the name of the router as R1. Now that statement, that statement is actually a trap. Why is it a trap? It's a trap because we are at the user exec mode, and you guys know that of the router. How do you identify the user exec mode? Router and greater than sign. Router and greater than sign is the user exec mode. So yeah, the user exec mode. So we need to go to privilege because they told us to go to the global, and we can't go to global and bypass the privilege exec mode. Okay. So we first need to say enable, enter. Then you say configure terminal, and you press enter. Configure terminal. So obviously you can see we have done enable to go to privilege. And privilege is represented by router and hash. Okay, so router and hash denotes the privilege exec mode. Then you say configure terminal, and we are now at the global configuration mode. So global configuration, even here the word configuration, it means this is where we do most of all the configuration. So actually most of them. So now let's give it a name. And how do we give it a name? We say host name, and you put R1 without the quotation marks, and you press enter. And the next instruction says configure class as the secret password. Configure class as the secret password. So you're gonna say, if you can remember, enable secret class. That is the password. So the secret password, you say enable secret class. Don't put any space, because even space is a character when configuring some of these passwords. Then we are told configure Cisco as the console line password. Require users to log in and return the global configuration mode. Very clear instructions. So configure Cisco as the line console password. So we need to say line console 0, enter. Password Cisco, enter. Require users to log in. Command is just log in. Very simple, guys. Return to global configuration mode. We go back one step, we say exit. Correct. Same commands we did in the switch, we are now doing them in the router. We are now doing them in the router. Now, so the next thing that we're going to do here now, we're told for V2I lines 0 through 4, configure Cisco as the password, require users to log in, enable SSH and telnet access, and return to global configuration mode. That is a little bit gray, but at least we understand. And V2I 0 space 4, 0 through 4, enter. Password is Cisco. Enter. Require users to log in. Enter. And then we need to enable SSH and telnet. This is a new command, totally new, guys. And this is how we do. So you say transport input SSH space telnet. I'm going to teach you this. I think the next, the second last chapter, I'm going to teach you about what this transport input SSH telnet means. We press enter, and then you need to exit back to global. All right. Then we are told encrypt all the plain text password. Correct. You say service password hyphen encryption. Service password hyphen encryption. Correct. Then you say enter the banner, and then wording should be authorized access only, exactly how it is. Capital A for authorized with a Z, capital A for access, capital O for an only, and there's an exclamation mark. And we are going to use hash as the delimiting character. So you say banner MOTD, put hash there, put it in the middle, and you say spelling authorized as only. If you put anything wrong, it's going to reject it. Let me remove, for example, let me just remove exclamation mark, and I press enter. It's saying you must enter the exact and full command. So I need to do it again. Banner MOTD, put my hash at the beginning, put authorized as only, put exclamation mark, then put a hash. That's it. Then we're told exit global configuration mode. We just use the command exit, and we are done. Now I'm gonna need you to do that. So the first, let me just zoom this. Let me just zoom this out. Yes. So the first assignment that I'm gonna give you guys is here. I'll give you that same syntax checker, 10.1.3, 10.1.3, and please also work on packet tracer 10.1.4. Is our class rep. Note that down. 10.1.3 and 10.1.4. I was just downloading 10.1.4 so that you guys can see how it looks like. Yeah. So 10.1.4 is gonna be looking like this. Oh, sorry, I opened so many of them here. Could have done better. I can just close one of them. All right. So I'm gonna bring up this one here, and correct. So let me bring up this here, and I put it there, and they're gonna have instructions here for me. They want me to, yes, the console, the command line is locked. The command line is locked, and what I need to do is that I need to use a console cable. This is very good for your practice. I need to use my console cable to be able to connect the PC and the router. So I go down here on the lightning icon there, pick up a console cable, the blue one, put it on the console, put it on RS232, put it on the router, and put it on the console port there, and that's it. Once I do that, I need to click PCA, go to the desktop, go to terminal, and click OK. And I'm in the router. I can repeat that process. Go to PCA, desktop, terminal, OK. Once I do that, and I can now be able to press enter, and I can now use my commands here, enable, configure, terminal, and I can do so many things. I already have 20 marks, by the way, for just connecting the console cable there. So you'll do all these other commands here, as you have been told, and work on them until you reach your 100% mark right here. Like I told you, I already have 20% here, which you guys can be able to see. Okay, so that's okay. So please work on 10.1.4, just configuring basic settings. This time around, you configure them in a switch, in a router, not a switch. All right, so I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to teach you guys something else, something additional on the router. Unlike the switch, guys, the router, the router interfaces, all router interfaces must be configured with IP addresses. Why? Because every router interface connects to a different network. Every interface of a router connects to a different network. That's why every router interface must have a unique IP address. Every router interface must have a unique IP address. And so let's look at an example of this. This router is being configured with some IP addresses here. So again, you can see the router has two interfaces, interface G000 and interface G001. And the network address of G001 is 209.165.200.224. And the IP of G001 is actually 200.225 here. And the IP of G00 is 192.168.10.1. IPv6 is 201:db8:feed:224:2 is the word for this interface here. And :1 is for the G001 interface. Now, what I want to teach you guys now is how do you configure those IP on the router interfaces. Very simple. So the first thing you need to do to the router interface is you need to get into the interface. By selecting the interface, you say interface, the name of the interface. Here the name is put in full. We will show you how to put the name in short. So the name here is Gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0. Normally in a router or in a packet tracer, you can just say interface G0/0/0. But in packet tracer or syntax checker, you must use the name in full. And get used to the long name. Gigabit Ethernet. There's nothing hard about it. Gigabit Ethernet. Gigabit Ethernet. So 0/0/0. Next, you guys, very necessary, not a must, but necessary. Necessary. Why necessary? Because one of the skills you're going to be learning from the beginning to the end of this course is called troubleshooting. Looking for problems and solving them. The world is looking for problem solvers, and so must you be one of them. All right. So we need to describe this interface so that when you are fired today, or the day you are sick and someone is standing in for you, they can know which this interface connects to, is connecting us to which device or which LAN or which router. So the command is description. That is the command. Anything that follows after the description is your own wordings now. So you could say description, link to LAN. Description, you'll say connection to LAN. You'll say, link to S1 LAN. You can put anything, even you want to put it in mother tongue, you're allowed. The only command you must type there is description. So describe that interface, what is connected to that interface. Once you do that, put the IPv4 address. You say IP address 192.168.10.1 and put the subnet mask. Correct? Then put your IPv6 address. Say IPv6 address. Instead of saying IP address, you now say IPv6 address. Then put your IPv6 address 2001:DB8:10:10:1/64. Activate your interface. No shutdown. No shutdown. And when you do that and you exit, the interface is going to receive syslog messages of the interface coming up. Then we go to the next interface, which is interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0/1. Gigabit Ethernet 0/0/1. Again, describe it. Description, link to R2. Give it IPv4 address 219.165.200.225, 255.255.252. Then say IPv6 address 2001:feed:224:1/64. Someone must be asking me, how does feed come from? Those are hexadecimal numbers which we learned from A to F. Of course, you need to activate that interface and let it come up. Okay? You can use these commands to verify if the IP addresses are well configured. Show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief. That is to view only IPv4 addresses. To view IP version 6 addresses, you say show IPv6 interface brief. Show IPv6 interface brief. Okay? And you'll be able to see the interfaces. It's been manually configured. Status is up, and even the protocol is up. Okay? Even 5v6, you see up here for status and protocol. It's a bit different, and IPv6 displays even an address we never configured. It's called the link local. That address, we will learn how to configure it, but even if you don't configure it, the router will create one of its own after you have configured the IPv6 address on each and every interface. Now, there are several verification commands here, which I need you guys to know what they do, but you only get to know them through practice. So we have seen show IP interface brief and the show IPv6 interface brief. To view the routing table, you say show IP route, and that is IPv4 routing table. To view the IPv6 routing table, you say show IPv6 route. If you want to view all interfaces on your router, you say show interfaces. If you want to view the IP statistics of each interface, you say show IP interface, or you can still say show IPv6 interface and you put the specific interface, maybe interface G00 or G001. Now, I want us to do exactly what I have done there so that we get to understand. You don't say we're just learning here and we can do so. Let's do this. Let me just zoom this in. Correct. Yeah. So we are told enter the global configuration mode. Very simple. So we say bigger terminal. You must always know which level you are in. Right now we are in the privilege, and we just use the command configure terminal to go to the global. We're told enter the interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0. So you say interface gigabit Ethernet. Don't get tired of typing it. You're gonna get used to it. Interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0. Enter. Describe the link as link to LAN 1. So what is the command again? Description. Make sure where there's a capital letter, you put it link to LAN. Enter. Configure the interface with the IP address. That once the command is IP address 192.168.10.1 255.255.255.0. Okay, we configure the IPv6 address. Is IPv6 address 2001:10:1/10.1/64. Make sure you know just how to configure the IP version 6. You put everything the same line. Don't forget a single colon. Don't put a semicolon. If it's full colon and there's a double colon at the end, press enter. Then it will enable the interface and return to global configuration mode. So you say shut down and we return to global configuration mode. We say exit. Okay, and you see that done very well. That being done. So it's important that we do know how to configure IP version 4 and version 6 addresses. IP version 4 and IP version 6 addresses. Then we go to how do we configure the default gateway. The default gateway, it's only used by a switch and an end device. So looking at this diagram here, when communicating on the same network, as you all know, we only have two networks here because we have the router and the router has two interfaces. So there are only two networks here. The first network is this one and this router interface, okay? And the second network is passing this router interface. Those are the two networks because the router has two interfaces and it's only one router. All right. So when PC1 wants to communicate to PC2 and they're within the same network, they don't need the default gateway or they don't need to send anything to the router. Okay. But when PC1 has to send a message to PC3, okay, then it must go through the router because PC3 is on a different network. All right, so that's why we need the default gateway to be configured for the PCs and even for the switches. Now for the PC, it's important. You just need the command default -gateway to do that. So let's see how to configure that on the switch. So for the switch, if you can zoom this, okay, and we say enter the global configuration mode, you say configure terminal, enter, configure terminal, then configure that one as the default gateway. Please note the command for configuring default gateway. The command is IP default -gateway, IP default -gateway 192.168.10.1 192.168.10.1. Default gateway is not configured with a subnet mask. I repeat, The default gateway is the only address not configured with the subnet mask, and it is not configured on any interface. It's not configured on any of the interfaces. Very, very important. It's configured straight at the global configuration mode, and it's not configured with a subnet mask. So that's it for default gateway. All right. So that is that for the default gateway, and the remaining work is now for you guys to do, and you're going to do, please not on the, I want Leonida, please note down another assignments you're gonna put in the group is 10.3.4. 10.3.4. I'm just gonna, that is the second last, I think so. I'm gonna open it and show you what is it that you guys are gonna be doing. It's a very interesting one here, and yes, so this is the diagram. You can zoom it a little bit. So you're going to do nothing other than configuring the IP addresses that are on the table here. Okay, so you're gonna use the table, of course, following the instructions. You're gonna get into router R1, go to the the command line there, and there's a password here which they must have provided on the instructions. It should actually be this exec mode should be Cisco. I don't know whether I told you this thing. As you type the command, the password on the command line, you can never see any characters being typed. But if you type the correct command, like right now I've typed a wrong command, the password is not going to be accepted. But if I type Cisco well, I just type Cisco and I press enter, you can see it's accepted at the user exec mode. So that's a security strategy, so that someone standing behind you is not gonna see the passwords being typed by you. So when I do enable, and then the next command should be class, right? And I'm at the privilege exec mode. And what you're going to do is that using the passwords provided there, and use the commands available, and the IP addresses provided on the IP addressing table. For example, I can go to the global configuration mode, but there I could just say conft instead of saying configure terminal. Those are short forms that we're going to learn soon enough. I could say interface instead of saying interface. I would just say int, but you're not supposed to learn that right now. Interface G0, you can use the short forms of the commands. G0/0, enter. I can say IP address 192.168.10.1 255.255.255.0. I would say no shutdown. You can see, if you are very keen enough, this one here, it's now becoming green to amber. The port is waking up because I've configured the IP address and I've activated the interface, and it turns to green, and the other color is about orange or amber. It's going to be green soon enough. Give it a little bit of time. Now, I could now say description link to S1. Since this interface is going to this switch here, then I press enter, and that is it. Okay, then I'm gonna go to the next interface, which is this one, G001, and when you're done, of course, we'll also go to the other interface here, which is we'll say interface S0/0/0 serial. That interface actually in the table here. If you're asking yourself, where am I getting it? Then you give it IP address 200.165.200.225. Subnet mask is 255.255.252 and enter. Description is linked to R2, no shot. Okay. Of course, you can obviously see that it is connected to R2 this other side. Okay, so you gotta follow those instructions, complete these IP address configurations. I've already done 22% here, so you need about 78% to move on. So work on that. That is your other assignment on 10.3.4. 10.3.4 is your other assignment. Now,
excuse me, just
yes.
before you exit the
command line, huh?
Yeah, the command line.
Correct.
Does the description come in any specific place? Because the first time you did an interface and then description and then IP address and then no shutdown. But this one, I think there is a time you have done shutdown. I don't know, but I'm just asking whether the description has a specific point that you key in or.
It does not. It does not. You can even start with it. You can put it at the end. You can put it in the middle. You can even put it after saying no shutdown. So it does not.
Okay, thank you.
Karibu. All right. Guys, be asking questions. If you need to ask any questions, don't keep quiet with it. This is the best place. I answer all questions in class. I don't wait to answer any questions later on. So this is the other, work you guys are going to be doing. And feel free even to ask in the group when you get stuck somewhere, but always see that you get to achieve your 100%. It gives you a lot of joy and a lot of pride in yourself, and it gives you the confidence that you're actually doing a good job. Now, so having talked about that, I'm going to give you another work, but this is for troubleshooting. On 10.3.5, 10.3.5 is a work that I'm going to give you guys to troubleshoot. You're going to look for the problems and work on them and correct them. Identify them, correct them, and you're gonna get marks in 10.3.5. Now, I'm going to give you assignments on just watching videos, okay? Assignments on watching videos. And the video you're going to watch is 10.4.1. 10.4.1, you're basically just going to see Cisco routers, different versions of Cisco routers here. 10.4.1. Watch another video in 10.4.2. 10.4.2. Watch another video for different configurations, of these different routers. Please do watch that. And then there's 2 activities here for you. 2 more for you. The second last activity is 10.4.3. 10.4.3 is a packet tracer. It's just opening here now, and let's see what it has for us. 10.4.3. This is for basic device configuration, and here we go. Correct. Now I can tell you for sure that you're going to meet some small challenges here. Why? Because this chapter introduces the next chapter they're going to be working on. This one introduces the next chapter we're going to be working on. So trust me, you'll receive some new challenges, but it is okay to get those challenges because we will answer those questions tomorrow on our tomorrow's class, when we'll be talking about chapter 11, we will learn about how to solve those challenges here. Here, they give you a network, and they want you using these IPs to get the networks. Okay, so I can give you a small clue. The first address is these are network addresses 10.10.10.0. So to give this router interface, you give it where there's a 0 replaced with 1. Okay, for the switch as well, where there's a 0 replaced with, you can maybe give it 2 because they're on the same network. And the PCs maybe give them 10.3 or 4 or 5 or 6 all the way. For the IPv6, where there's a double colon here, double colon /64. To give the first address, put a 1 in between the double colon and /64. So that the first address is going to be 2001. The first address here is going to be 2001. 2001 colon TB8 colon ACAD colon 100 double colon, put a 1 in between /64. Okay, 100 double colon 2 double colon 3 /64 double colon 4 /64 double colon 5 /64. That's how you assign IPv6 addresses. The same as this side. For IPv6, put a number between the double colon and the slash. For IPv4, you replace zeros with subsequent numbers from 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, so on and so forth. So challenge yourself with that, and we see where you guys are gonna end up. Of course, the last assignment is 10.4.4. 10.4.4, the blue one. 10.4.4, the blue one. Now, this is similar to one that I have given you guys before, and you shouldn't have a problem, with it. It's where we give you the store in a simulated form. We give you the cables in a simulated form, and we tell you, we give you a table where you put your PCs, and we give you a rack here. So I'm gonna drag my PCs to the IP administrator table. All right, then this topology on the left-hand side, PCA, switch 1, R1, and PCB. So I'm gonna bring my S1. They're actually not normally indicated there. This is my switch S1. I look at my router is here. Router R1. But R1 is here. Okay. So once I do that, I'm gonna get my cables. This is a copper straight through, and I'm going to connect PC. Right click, inspect front, zoom in, put it on part F, Ethernet F06. Right there. Close that. Put it on PCA. Right here. That's Ethernet. And that is done. Take another copper straight through. On the router, right click, inspect front. You can zoom it in if you want. F0 switch is F05. Correct. Close it. And the router, G01. Zoom it in. G01 of the router. Correct. Actually, G001. Put it here. I don't know that this router is actually on. Let me zoom it in. The router is actually off, so I need to turn it on. Zoom out. This router does not even have where you can click the CLI, which means you're gonna need a console cable to get into it. Anyway, let's complete the connections. I can take a copper crossover and connect my PC on G001 down here and put it, close this, put it on my PC here, and G001. Okay. Get console cables. There are only two. If you waste them, they are gone. These console cables. Put for the switch, I click inspect rear so that I can go behind. The console port is here. Close that and put it on my PC on the RS-232 port. Okay. Take the last console cable, right click on the router, zoom it in. I need to make sure it's at the console port. Right there. Inspect front and put it on the RS-232. Okay. Now I can access the router and the switch through the desktop. Oh, this PC has not been powered on. So come here and turn it on. Now you can go to the desktop, command prompt, and okay. And you can see we are in the router. You need to answer here. Every time you're asked to answer yes or no, you answer with no. Every time the question is yes or no, you answer with no. And every time the question is yes only, you answer with yes. So here you answer with no or just letter N. And you press enter, and we are in our router now. I'm gonna need you to work on that. And the switch as well, you can just go there, go to the desktop, or it needs to be powered on first. Power it on. Now I can go to the desktop, go to the terminal, do OK. And by now the switch, I can now be able to start configuring the switch. So the IP addresses are actually here, and you're gonna configure both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. And the other commands are actually here, the other basic settings. I think this is the one that is going to determine whether you are actually doing a good job or not. So please, 1044, for you to get the knowledge of 1044, work on the previous assignments I gave you today. Work on the previous assignments I did give you today, so that you can be able to, do very well on this one. 1044 is a big determinant for you. If you're very serious and you want to learn this stuff, work on the previous ones, work on all the other ones, and score excellently, 100%. Then I'll come and summarize the 1044. Very simple stuff. Please practice. Don't enjoy yourself, because you'll have yourself to blame later on. So I think that's that for now. And right now, can I have any questions, guys? Anything you need me to clarify here, ladies and gentlemen? Please unmute yourself and speak, or you could do it on the chat, whatever it is you want. Any clarifications that you guys need? I'll be more than willing, to work on these ones here. Okay. Can I assume that silence means no questions?